What's happening, people? I hope you're all well. I've come to this park here. I like walking in this park and I like it when it's summertime. I used to play football, soccer when I was a kid on this very grass here. And you know, when you're young and you have these sleepovers, and so I would have these like sleepovers. My dad would like take us to this park. We would play football, come back, maybe have a little bit of food, and then have those sleepovers when you're a kid. But you know, this park is a little bit, I don't know, it's good memories, man, good memories. So yeah, do we live in a simulation? Like, do we live in a simulation? This is a really interesting one because I don't know, when you're young, maybe you just kind of take things for what they are and you don't question things. And I mean, a lot of kids do. I'm not gonna lie, I did kind of question things when I was young, like little things like when I'm not there, does anything like this? I know it sounds a bit selfish, but I used to think to myself, when I'm not there, do things really exist? Because I can't see it. Like that's something I used to ask myself. That I'm not gonna lie, I did, and I don't know. I see certain things happening, and you gotta wonder, like, is this like a script? Is this are we just acting out a script? Like, because I don't know. If you look at like just certain things unfolding, and many people have reported that dreams, they will dream something and then something similar will happen the very next day. Like they will have premonitions and precognitive dreams, and they will predict something in their dream, see something happen in their dream, and then lo and behold, the very next day it happens. There was this guy, I forgot his name, but he was an astronaut. He wasn't the first one to be on the moon, but he was like, I think maybe the second or third. And he said he looked at space when he was on the moon. He looked at space, and he said that it just came to him that there seemed to be some sort of design. Like it didn't just seem to be random. And I can definitely, I can't resonate on the level of leaving this planet and going to space and looking, but I can definitely look up at the sky and look at like nature, and I kind of do see like some organization going on, like, and you do wonder, like, do we live in a simulation? Are we just acting, are we really in control of our lives the way that we think that we are? Because it begs the question, if people are dreaming the future, then are we actually controlling the future? And if we're not controlling the future, then who is? Well, I believe in God, so you know, that's my answer. But I know a lot of people don't, but we do. There are so many things that we just don't know, and you have to ask yourself the question, you know, why is it that we are able to exist on this planet? We don't question our existence. Like, we don't question it. We get up but when you think about it, every single breath that you take is somewhat of a miracle in terms of the probabilities of this universe. You look around at all these planets that don't harbor life on it, and you think about this planet, how many things need to be going right every second of every day just for us to exist. And every breath you take is actually a miracle when you think about it, because something could go wrong at any time. And it only takes a very small thing to go wrong, and this earth is no more. Like, there are some serious calculations and formulas and algorithms that are going on right now just so that we can have this experience on this planet. I truly believe that. And if certain energies, forces, and God ultimately didn't want you to have this experience, it wouldn't be hard for this planet to be no more. So, and it just like with people remembering their dreams, and people remembering like their dreams and then something the very next day happening. Like, how are we in control of our future? Like, and I think, and I honestly do believe that there is something to it, because ultimately you think about how, like, life, if you think about life in general, the process of life is so, you think it's random and you think it's unique, but I honestly don't think it's unique, and it's not unique at the same time. It's kind of like two things at once, which is something that I've noticed about this universe as well. Many things are two things at once. So like, life is unique, but life is also not unique, because for every single person you meet, there's another person out there with a very, very similar story. So does the universe like to remind itself of certain experiences by giving it to two different people? Like, there are so many questions with regards to deja vu, people experiencing things like that. The fact that, like, even just the design of species, like how certain species, we look very similar to our species, whether you realize it or not. Then there's other species and they all look very, very similar. And then birds of a nest flocking together in nature and biology, like birds will flock with the birds, lions will flock with the lions, tigers will flock with the tigers. Like, who's designing all of this? Who's interlocking all of these equations? Like, these are the questions you have to ask. Like, when I say life is unique and not unique simultaneously, what I mean also by that is that when you're a kid, you'll have certain experiences, but like learning to talk, like, going to school, or like learning. School is really just a form of learning. Like, you have those experiences of learning to talk, learning to walk, learning. And then when you become a kid, you will start to form relationships. You'll start to have relationships phased into your life. And then after that, you will start to develop your hormones, your sexuality will start developing. You'll start to have feelings for the opposite sex. And some people, obviously, it's a slightly different story, but we're all humans, so I am going to include that, even though I have no experience in that field whatsoever. And so you develop feelings for the opposite sex, and then you will meet someone. Like, this isn't the story for everyone, but typically you will start to have relationships, and you'll start to form families. You'll start to go through relationship highs and lows. You'll start to form adult friendships. You'll start to go through maybe some financial stresses. And then as you get older, you'll start to think about retiring. And by that stage, historically speaking, you will have, like, your kids will have had kids by that stage. You'll start to go through maybe a midlife crisis. Not that I wish that on anyone, but what I'm trying to say is these are not unique circumstances. And then you'll get older, and then it will be the end of life phase, letting go, and you'll go through that. It's a mental, I've seen people at the end of life phase, and they do go through some, I don't want to go into detail, but there are some similar circumstances unfolding, such as, I don't want to go into detail, so I'm not, because I think certain things should always remain private, but I've had dying relatives talk to me, and basically, in a rounded off way, are talking about the past like it's happening now. So it's almost like the structure that's holding their reality together is unraveling. So but what I'm trying to say is, it is unique. Everyone is unique and everyone has a unique experience, but in the same way, it's not unique. So we all go through this pattern, and who's designed that pattern? We we take so much for granted and we don't question things. We just say things are the way they are. But when we actually look at it, there are certain patterns that we all go through. There are certain cycles that we all go through. And it really begs the question, is someone designing these templates? And then inside those templates, the lessons that get learned for our soul. And that begs the question, if someone's designing it, then that's simulative, the same way. And you'll notice that the bottom always strives for the top, but the lessons are learned at the bottom. So we're kind of being put down here to learn these lessons, but we're looking up, and whether we realize it or not, you know, we are copying what we see up at the top, and the top and the bottom always copies the top. Like when I'm, you know, boxing, I'm looking at people who are better than me to try and improve. But I've also developed a skill, and not many people, I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I've also noticed that who's apparently at the top isn't always accurate. So I always try and look at those around me, or those who are maybe considered lower than me, because you can actually learn sometimes more from that. Honestly, I kid you not. I've watched boxers with 100 losses and learnt more than a boxer who's like a world champion. Because it's not always, life isn't what you think it is a lot of the time. So I'll give an example. I know a boxer with like over 100 losses, but he's kind of chosen that role as a boxer because he thinks he can make more money doing that. And I spoke to him a couple of times, you know, and he's a real cool guy, and he's really good at boxing. It sounds crazy. He's got 100 and something losses. He's really good at boxing. You laugh at him, he will knock most of you out. He'll probably knock me out as well. Well, I've got a good chin, but you know, if he wants to beat you, he will beat you, and I've seen it. Like, but he's chosen this role. He's, you know, I'll probably make it the distance. I'm trying to, I don't want to say that. See, that's like the man in me. This is again, we know we're in the flesh. So, but now he gave me a very, 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 very tough fight, and I'd probably be glad that it was over. I've had a couple of them fights where, you know, I enjoy it, but would you go up and say, let's do it again? Give me like a week or something. But I digress. The point of the fact of the matter is, this guy is really, really good at boxing. Like he's dropping people with jabs. But he's chosen this defense. He's chosen this role and of like losing fights. Not losing. He's not chosen the role of losing fights, but he's chosen the role of like fighting every week. And if you're fighting every week, you can't really, you know, win every time, because you're coming up against people who are like fighting every so often, and they got the preparation, they got all the training facilities. So the point I'm trying to make is, he's mastered the art of defensive boxing. He goes in there, he doesn't want to get hurt because he needs to fight next week. So the defensive skills that he's learned, and then I go and watch him, and I'm learning so many defensive moves. Like, boxing is hit and don't get hit. When I was younger, I was so arrogant. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna knock everyone out. But actually, as I'm getting older and a little bit slower and my reaction time's not as good, I'm now starting to realize that learning how to defend yourself in the ring is actually more important. So first you don't get hit, and then you build your attacks off of that solid base. So I'm watching this guy, he's got 150 losses, and I'm learning more from him than certain guys who are undefeated. True, like no word of a lie. So, but anyway, I've gone way off the point. So what I'm trying to say is this: the top always learns from the bottom always learns from the top, or looks up to the top. So when we're talking about simulation, do we live in a simulation? Like, because if the bottom's looking at the top, and we're creating computers and AI and simulative operations like that, like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of cyber world out there that's being trialed out. There's even that, there was that AI demo that was played out there, and there was like characters, and you can ask them questions about life, and I was asking these people like questions and testing their noodle, and seeing like there's this game where you can actually walk around and talk to the AI characters and ask them and have a dynamic conversation with them. And I was doing that, and I was surprised what I was getting. I was asking them about travel. I was asking them about how they feel about certain things, and it was pretty crazy. But not because of the answers they were giving me were any more unique than what a human would say, but because it showed what's possible. It showed what's possible with first thought and then mind, and first thought, then mind, and then matter. So I was thinking, man, if humans can create that, what, those that created us, let us create man in our image, that's pretty deep. So if we're creating simulations, then why is it impossible that we're not living in one? So it definitely makes me wonder. I've had certain things happen to me go wrong in my life, and then off the back of something going wrong, I meet someone or something happens, something good happens because of the wrong. And then it kind of like, I get this click in my mind that it all makes sense now. So was that all scripted? Because why is my mind clicking? It would all just be, if it was all just random events, I wouldn't have that aha moment. So yeah, I'm not trying to come up with a definitive answer to this question. I think this is a question that many should answer yourself. And one thing I've learned about life is there's not necessarily any answer to any question. Like, you think there is, and it's really important to let go of like almost I don't want to say like your beliefs or like your what you have in your mind as a fact. It's very important to let go of that and just be open, because you can think something for years and then within a second someone can just go and prove you wrong. But then someone can go and prove that person wrong, and then that person wrong. But when you become closed off to new ideas and new like ideology, but then you kind of stop yourself from learning and progressing. Because imagine the human race with no technology, living in like stone houses. We're like, this is it. This is it. This is what it is. Technically it is. It is and it isn't. Again, it's like two things at once. It's like, yeah, this is what it is, but what's next? What's the next step? So if you close yourself off to new ideology and you say this is it, that's the day you stop growing. So it's very important to just like open your mind up, open your soul up to new ideas, and not to think that anything is anything and like anything is this and it's definitely this. But I definitely wonder whether we live in some sort of simulation. The lessons I've learned, I came into this universe, I wouldn't say that. I came into this life a little bit arrogant, a little bit like closed off, a little bit aggressive, a little bit like not controlling, but a little bit like I have to lead, I have to dictate some, like, and I've had to live that down. I've had to have certain lessons thrown at me. I've had to work that bad karma off, So, at the end of the day, and maybe I'm still working it off now, but that can also be like designed for you as well. Like certain lessons that you're supposed to come into your body and learn, and you're meant to work off bad energy that you've built up. So but then how, if I'm here working off certain energy that I've accumulated, like, how would I know, how is it I find myself in that position unless that position's been assigned to me? And if it's been assigned to me, then is it simulative? So I'm just asking the question, do you think that we live in a simulation? Let me know. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, hit the notification bell so you get a notification when I make a new video. If you appreciate my work and want to leave a donation, there's a link for that in the description. With that, enjoy the rest of your day. See you on the next one.